Approximately 20% of construction businesses fail within their first year, and 50% do not survive past their fifth year. The construction industry has such a high failure rate, so how do some contractors still make millions without even coming close to failing? After generating over $32 million in revenue and $5 million in profit from multiple construction companies, I figured out 4 secrets that are making contractors successful and removing their stress. So in this video, I'll reveal exactly what those secrets are and how to use them to make millions of dollars in profit without working 80 hours per week. Now, the first secret lies with how you price projects, and it's the backbone of your business growth. Most contractors make the mistake of doing this with a weak pricing, which leads to failure and just new problems cropping up in the business. You cannot scale a business if you haven't improved your margins to an extent that you can afford to actually scale up. So variable margins on projects are so essential. I get this question a lot. What should we be charging? 15, 20, 40, 50% margins? What is the right number? It will depend on your area. But the things you want to be thinking of is making sure that your margins are covering your overhead. And if you don't have project management as a line item and are pricing for it, you need a healthy margin to cover all of the management, even if you're managing the project yourself. Now, what you want to do is be more competitive on good, large projects and less competitive on small, undesirable projects. So if you are a home builder and someone wants to build a cheap home that's far away, you need to put a lot of margin on that because it's got to be worth your time. I mean, if it's not in your wheelhouse, just let it go. But essentially, the larger and better clients and bigger projects, you are going to have a little bit of a thinner margin typically to be able to close those projects easier. Whereas smaller projects, you want to price yourself out of that market because you want to be going after bigger, better projects. Now, the other part of pricing is having really good estimating templates and a really good estimating system. I hear a lot of contractors, same thing. I've got 40% margins. I should be making a lot of money, but we always forget stuff in the estimates, or there's holes in my estimating. Pricing is off, or the schedule goes longer and I end up spending a lot more money on labor, whatever it may be. So having really good templates and pricing for estimating is so paramount. You make your money in construction when you estimate a project. Yes, you've got to fill it and you've got to run an efficient project and you'll be conscious of material costs and labor costs. But if you've underpriced a project, there is just no way you can make that up with efficiency gains later on. There's only so much efficiency you can get out of your people and, cheap prices on materials, which can lead to other problems as well. The other common thing I see is a misunderstanding of markup and margin. So margin is a percentage of the total, whereas markup is markup on top. So if you have a $100,000 project, if you have 20% margins, that means the cost is 80%. Your margin is then 20% to make the 100%, whereas a markup is on top of that. So the difference is a couple of percentages, and the more margins or markup you have, the bigger the difference between those. And this is where contractors can feel like I should be making 15, 20% profit on this project, but I'm lucky if I'm going to make 5%. You probably have a disconnect between your margin and your markup, and you're not associating your true overhead and contingency expenses for your estimating. Now, some common mistakes that I see in estimating is the kind of hidden costs, if you will, that are not being accounted for. Pre-construction being one of them. Your pre-construction process, you should be getting paid for your budgeting, for your scheduling, for calling trades and getting pricing from them, from meeting the client on site, talking with the designers, whatever it may be. You need to be getting paid for all that work. So that is often a sunk cost if you don't have a good pre-construction process. Yes, you can provide like a free kind of rough budget to get your foot in the door and like kind of put a little bit of value towards the client, but there needs to be a clear cutoff point that if you want to work farther and you want to drill down budget and design, we need to go into a pre-construction process. Now, if you're a commercial contractor or if you're in one of those areas that's super budget oriented, you need to at least put it in your estimate. So if you are doing maybe smaller projects, it's like there's not really much pre-construction that I can charge for, which I would disagree with. But if that is the case, make sure you're at least pricing in an extra 5, 10, 15 hours into your estimate for the amount of time that you are doing during the pre-construction so that you're getting paid for it one way or the other, either when you land the project or as a pre-construction agreement. One of the quickest ways to not make a lot of money is to lower your price to try to win a job. This is a race to the bottom, and you need to be able to know what your value is and know what a profitable business is at. There's no use going into a project that's going to take 3 months, 6 months, a year and not make any money at the end of it. There's no reason to keep your guys busy or to get revenue through your project. It doesn't matter if you're doing 1 million or 10 million. If you're not profitable at the end of the day, it's all for nothing. So do not shoot yourself in the foot and underprice your project. I know it can be scary scary, especially when you have not a lot of leads, or you feel you need to get this job because it's interesting or it's bigger than anyone you've ever done, and you've got dollar signs in your eyes. Realize that larger projects with low pricing is a sure way to sink your business. And never mind getting to the millions of dollars, you could possibly go into bankruptcy. So do not make this mistake. I see it over and over again. Now, the biggest reason why many contractors fail and never come close to making millions is they don't know how to actually acquire clients. So you need to keep your demand super high and your production capped, so that the ideal situation is you're in demand, you've got lots of leads coming in, lots of new projects, and you can be choosy with the clients, with the projects, with the locations, whatever it may be. You're pricing with really good margins and you're not filling production. So if 5 new houses come in for leads, you're not telling them all that you can start within the next couple of months. You need to prioritize and tell them whoever signs the contract first or whoever joins the pre-construction phase and moves into that phase, we will hold a spot in our pipeline. And this is how you are always scheduling out work farther and farther. If you can do 2 houses at one time, fill that spot for 2 houses and then realize that the next house may have to wait 6 months or 8 months. And the thing is, once you have that pipeline and you have over a year of booked work, you are in such a good confident state that you're not worried if you didn't get leads this week or if that next project didn't quite pan out, because you've got a full year to fill the next spot in your pipeline. Plus, you can then plan it well ahead of, hey, we actually are pushing out more than a year of work. We should hire another project manager so we can go from, maybe 2 or 3 houses at one time and scale up to 6 or 7. And we know that we can meet that production because we're booking that far out. And as long as the leads are high and we're not meeting that production, we can then facilitate this. So just that mindset of in demand, scheduled out. You're not just saying yes to every single client and getting started with them. Now you might be saying, Derek, that's great. I wish I had unlimited demand and just, stack of new estimates and clients that wanted to do work with me. But how do I actually get there? There's a few key components, and a lot of contractors skip the first step, which is really defining their niche and their unique selling proposition. So you want to be specialized. You want to be the perfect fit for your ideal type of client. And this does take a little bit of brain work and legwork on your part of determining who is the right client. Often you can think back of who was some of the best clients I've ever had while they lived in generally these areas. They probably made a certain amount of money. They might have been professionals, maybe new professionals that moved to the city, or maybe families who are now growing. What are the commonalities? What are they afraid of? What do they aspire to? What is the real reason they want to build the home that they do? They can go buy a home, and so why would they build one and go through all the trials and tribulations of construction, right? So really getting down into the psychographics and demographics, knowing your client so well, and then all of your marketing, your sales, your conversations are stemming from that knowledge, and you have a certain confidence because you know your client so well. You get to a point where you've been in so many of those conversations with them, whether it's a new lead or pre-construction process or whatever, whenever you need to convert them into the next stage, that you already know what their objections are going to be, the problems that they're dealing with, even if they're not telling you about them. And you are able to then be the right pick for them because you get them, because they have a good feeling about you, because everything about your brand, your marketing, the colors, the way you converse with them, the people in your business, everything speaks to them and just feels like the right fit. And they'll be willing to spend an extra 5-10% and probably not look at a lot of your competitors, maybe just to vet it. But at the end of the day, they want to go with you. The other thing is the pre-construction process that I mentioned. Every step along the client journey should feel like just another step in the process. Always telling them the next step and going from one stage to the next, to the pre-construction agreement, to the construction agreement, and just moving them along the conveyor belt, essentially. Now, there's 1,000,001 ways to market and generate leads. Some of the best ones that I've found, and what most home builders will tell you, is they want referrals, right? Referrals are the best leads. Having a good client refer another good client, or maybe having somebody in your network like a designer or realtor refer new clients to you, because there's already some trust there. There's some familiarity, and you know that that person isn't going to refer someone that's just way out to lunch. They're probably going to refer other people similar to them. So if you're dealing with professionals and you have good clients, they're going to refer other professionals and other good clients. Now, because referrals are so important, you need a really good system to capitalize on your for referrals. I believe you should be setting the intention before you even start the project. You don't need to ask for a hard referral, but mention, hey, by the way, if you know anybody, we work primarily through referrals because we do great work and people refer it to us. And we like to work with similar types of people. So if you have family members, coworkers, whoever that's thinking about buying a home, get them in touch with us because we can maybe help them and help guide that conversation and give them some great, advice and a client experience like we've shown you. You've spent the time, energy, built the brand and the reputation to bring in clients. After doing great work for them, you should be constantly top of mind for them that they can generate referrals for you. And they know if they do generate a referral, you're going to send them a gift card or something nice, maybe a gift basket, depending on what it is. For professionals, maybe you give them a small percentage of the revenue or cut them a check for, $500,000, whatever it may be, as something nice, or you just refer, right? The more you can refer to other people, the more likely they are going to want to refer to you. So developing that strong referral system and network can get you up to a few $1,000,000 of business quite easily. Typically, yes, you're still going to do all the other marketing, and I believe in multi-channel marketing. So you should be present on social media. You should be doing the email newsletter at least once per month. So you've got those touch points. You've got content that's going out. Think about content as creating like one content piece and then splitting it up so you can push it out to all the different channels. So you could do one blog article of like top 10 things you need to know before designing your home. And all those 10 things could be 10 separate posts that go to social media. So create that system so that you always have some content going out and you're brand aware. But that is just sort of for your existing market. Social media, you're not really reaching new people. It's more or less people that have found you already and are just happen to, be on their feed at the time. The real best thing is referrals and then some paid advertising. Yes, it's going to cost you money and it's going to take some time before the ROI maybe makes sense for you, but invest at least small amounts of money. The good thing about paid advertising is it's fully trackable. So you know exactly down to the penny how much you're spending, whether it's working, whether it's not, how things are going up and down, which types of people are coming through. It's all very trackable once it's set up. And what I have found to work for my clients is using Google ads. You're going to pay more for them, but there's high intent because the person is searching. And then use Facebook ads for more of a nurture, meta ads, Instagram, Facebook, that kind of thing. They're cheaper, but you typically need some sort of offer more than just, hey, give us a call if you're building your home. That can work, but typically you want to provide some sort of free guide, maybe free consultation, some sort of discount potentially. I don't like to do discounts, but you need to grab their attention a little bit more. But the great thing about that is you're paying a little heavier price for high intent, and then you're nurturing them and getting another touch point when those people search you on Google, and then later in the day they go to Facebook or Instagram, and then they see like, oh, hey, that company I just searched, and you can then get in front of a potential client more times for less money, essentially. And between the two, it works really, really well. Now, with all your marketing, as I mentioned with the niche, the goal is to get high quality clients and large high quality projects. So that is what you should always be optimizing for with your marketing. It feels good sometimes to get a whole bunch of leads or a lot of traction, views, whatever, those vanity metrics. But at the end of the day, it boils down to, am I getting the right type of clients that I want to work with that will actually convert at a high level, who can afford my services? And are they building the type of projects that I want to be working with them on? But even if you have the best marketing out there and your pricing templates and estimating is on point, if you don't know how to build an amazing team, it's all for nothing. You're still going to be stressed out and have way too much work to handle. So that's where secret number 3 comes in. And that is how to bring in and retain A players. And even if you're not going to have full A players, how to get people from being a B player to an A player with great human resource systems for hiring, onboarding, and training employees. And if you need help with any of this, click the link in the description below to apply for my coaching program. Now, team building, it's not really a secret. You know that you need to hire employees to build a business. The problem is you can't delegate without systems. And most contractors run into this problem. I see it over and over again. Just talked with one the other day, hired a project manager, fired them after 3 weeks because they didn't work out. Hiring A players into a broken system is just going to give you a whole lot of really expensive chaos and make your life harder because now you've got to babysit them and try to train them on something that is everything, in your head, and you don't have anything to hand off and really get them running and successful in their job. A way to think about hiring is you have an organization chart in your business. You are the CEO at the top, and most people fill that role and you feel like you're the owner. What you don't understand is most of that pyramid is a typical shape is owned and operated by you. You're the project manager, you're the finance manager, you're the HR manager, the marketing manager, whatever it may be. Even if you have people in those positions, you are still managing them constantly and having to tell them what to do. And you are probably maybe even doing some of those roles. So your goal is to hire the bottom rungs and slowly get that support structure and that team as you move up and own just the top CEO roles of the company. Now, the biggest kind of mindset thing is you need to stop doing $50 an hour tasks. If you can hire someone for $50 an hour, your time is worth at least $100, probably $200, maybe even $1,000 an hour, depending on the size of your business. And guaranteed, most of the different positions in your company are going to be, you can pay someone $50 an hour or less. A lot of them probably even 10 to 15, 20 if you get virtual assistants overseas. Project manager, maybe you're paying them, $50 up to $70 an hour, depending on what they do, or lead carpenter. So eventually you will fill those positions as well, but just realize that the cheap, repetitive stuff. So the first thing to get off your plate, I find, is bookkeeping. Then you want to hire an administration assistant or office manager, somebody to help you. Even if you are very involved on site still, you need that office person 5, 10, 15 hours per week, whatever it is. Take care of that little nitty-gritty stuff that you don't have time for, you don't enjoy doing. You need to get that off your plate sooner than hiring like a project manager or even maybe a superintendent. Once you've got the office stuff figured out, then you move into the site manager and project management, getting those off your plate, and then bringing in a marketing manager, which your office manager can kind of handle some of that. So that's a typical progression, and you don't want to hire all of them right away. You need to level up essentially, and you need to make sure that you have a good system in place before you hire this person. It doesn't have to be perfect, but at least a playbook of these are the big steps, these are the roles and responsibilities, these are the descriptions, all of those kind of things, that they are not walking into a job where you just have to tell them everything. There should be a rhyme and a reason why you do things and a playbook with some training for them to handle it. As for recruiting systems, I'm going to run through our process that we use. There's a lot of depth to it, but essentially this is what you want to be thinking of. Just as you have an ideal client, as I mentioned before, you're going to have an ideal employee. So with the client, you want to know all those different demographics and psychographics. Same thing for an employee. Who's the best site manager, foreman that I've ever had or worked with before? What was unique about them? Why were they good at the job? Why would I want to hire another person like that? Outline all that stuff so that you have a clear understanding of who is the right person for this job. If you're just putting out an ad, need a site manager, they need to be able to do this, and have this experience, you're going to get a whole bunch of random people. You want to have a job ad that's curated specifically for a certain type of person so that you're attracting that type of person. And the other thing with hiring is, just as you don't want to lowball yourself with estimate pricing, you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot with hiring too fast. And the problem is usually you're looking to hire when things get busy and you're like, I need someone yesterday because I'm going crazy. My people are going crazy. I have projects behind schedule. I need someone right away, just a warm body. And that's the worst thing you can do for culture, because you're trying to bring someone in while things are super busy, trying to onboard them so they're coming into an environment that's already chaotic, and you're probably moving things too fast without proper vetting. So understanding that the right type of person, you create a job ad, you want to get as much exposure as you can. So post it on a lot of different sites, ask your existing employees, ask your network, put out social media posts, hey, we're hiring, send out emails to everybody who's you've interviewed before for that position. So if people sent you resumes for the carpentry position 2 years ago, you should have that data on file that you can send an email and say, hey, you should reapply. We're now hiring again for this position, because that person now has 2 more years of experience and they may be working in another company and are not actively looking for a job. So the best employees are probably working in your competitors' companies. They're not just sitting on their thumbs at home waiting for your job ad to come across their desk so they can apply for your position. So it's really important to have those databases and those networks, find the people who may be in employment already, but possibly looking for a change. Once you get all of the different people, you're going to curate it down to maybe 2, 3, 4 top candidates, meet with them, spend some time with them. If it's an important management position, have other people on your team meet with them as well without you there, and then get their feedback. What did you think about this person? Do you think they'll be a good fit? What were some red flags for you? Because you as a business owner are probably optimistic. You're used to sales. You're used to like getting along with people, having a good time. And you may think someone is great for a position because you have a good feeling about them, without realizing that there is things that are off here, and they may not, they may clash with the current culture, or they may not really have the experience that they're telling you they do, all those kind of things. Final thing is to make sure you do your due diligence. Call references, call their past employers, call possibly their landlord, get a background check if you think it's relevant, just to make sure that there's no difficult things in their past that they have to deal with. And even if they are, that they can communicate them to you, and everyone knows what's going on. In order to make millions, there's one more step that's extremely important. It builds your reputation, and that is to operate so efficiently that you can take time off, take a vacation without things falling apart, and still come back to your business, and it'll be growing. The day that your projects are the same, whether you're on site or on vacation, is the day you can start to grow much faster and focus working on the business instead of in it. So amazing operations is secret number 4. It's much more than just getting less stress. It is everything to do with your business, from the client's experience and your employees' experience and your subcontractors' experience. When your operations are on point, you feel good. It's amazing. When you get to that point where it's like you don't even have to think about it, and it's just operating, and you have this peace of mind to know that your people are trained, there's a system in place, you're going to get your reports, you're going to have your weekly or monthly meetings with the key people of your organization, and you get these clients that are just ecstatic to be working with you and so happy about that project manager and how they're running your company. That is a wonderful, amazing place to be in. Making millions of dollars, fantastic, but having a business that can operate like that is just the next level amount of freedom. And the real reason why business owners, entrepreneurs get into business in the first place is to have that fulfillment of creating an amazing business that fulfills clients, meets expectations, they get good reviews, enabling your people, you're leading them, they're happy, you're happy. It's just a beautiful place to be. And it is not an easy place to get to, as you probably know. Anything and everything can happen. We talked about building your team. The next step is actually delegating. So you've built a team, you brought in the ideal clients, you got A players, maybe some B players who, you want to level up to A players. Delegating to them is all about the operations and systems of your business. So there's some key components, and maybe seen stuff out there, SOPs are dead. Yeah, most SOPs probably do. And even if you're giving your SOP to an AI, you still need operating procedures. You still need to have a thought out way that's efficient of how things get done, and it's documented somewhere. I don't care what kind of business you're in or what sort of, people you've got in your business. At the end of the day, you need this written down. Otherwise, you're never going to set yourself free from your business. So document your processes. Start simple estimating. If that is the process, what is the big steps of estimating? What do you do? 5 to 10 big steps with a little description. That's all you need at the beginning. From there, you can start to build it out and refine it. Stay focused. Figure out what is the big pain point you're dealing with right now. What is the thing you don't want to be doing anymore? What is the problem of your business? It could be communication. It could be management. It could be scheduling. What is that small little system? Don't think about building out this huge software, like your job software or some big marketing campaign. What is the small thing that you can do, the next actionable step? Work on that, then move on to the next one. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just need to get it in place. Once you've got that system, it then becomes really easy with the right candidate to have them onboarded, trained. They get the employee handbook, they get the training manuals, they understand the SOPs. There's a training process that they shadow someone doing whatever needs to get done, or you're providing feedback, or someone on your team's providing feedback. So there's a great way to be able to delegate, get it off your plate, and then you need checks and balances. And this is another part where a lot of people go wrong is, I hired this person, I gave them all this stuff, they should know what they're doing, but I still have to check on them, and they're still not doing things correctly, and they let things slide, they get too comfortable, whatever it is. That boils down to a leadership and communication issue, not necessarily an employee issue. Yeah, if they're not getting it, maybe you have to let them go. But most of the time, more often than not, it is that you haven't communicated clearly that, hey, this is really important. I need you to get these things done. These are the priorities. This is the first thing you get done. This is the second thing. This is the third thing. If these lower priorities don't get done and you have a valid reason, I understand. I don't want to excuses, but at the end of the day, they're not as important. As long as you're taking care of your core deliverables, then we should be running just fine. Have a scorecard, have check-ins, sending daily site updates or logs, and make sure that you are keeping this as very important in your mind, because if you are like at 80 or 70%, like, oh, it's okay, you didn't get the daily login today, or you got 3 out of 5 last week, they're going to be like, well, they're okay with 3 out of 5. So if I just send like 1 or 2 a week, I'm probably okay. So they're always going to, the importance for the person that you're asking someone to do something for is always going to be less. So if you're telling your project manager that, hey, it's super important that the guys clean up the site after, your project manager is probably like tells the guys, hey guys, boss says we need to clean up the site better. By the time it gets down to the site guys, it's not really super important. So you have to make sure that you're communicating very clearly and that there's repercussion, and that if they can't meet something, maybe you have some sort of ulterior thing that you can do, give them a day off until they get it right, send them, across town to go clean up something, and whatever it needs to happen. Now, after stating the importance and priorities, now you need to give clear instructions on how to instruct and make decisions for your employees. There should be a document somewhere along with the SOPs or the training materials of exactly what to do in certain situations, so that if something comes up, they have something to refer back to, or at least it's been communicated with them. So in the project management training, there should be something, if a client asks for additional work to be done on the project, you need to do this, right? Tell them they need to talk with whoever, or you'll get them an estimate that you can't, proceed with it. If guys showing up late, or maybe they're hungover multiple days out of the week, then this is what you need to do, right? So very clear instructions. If you have problems that are reoccurring in your business, that is a clear indication that your systems are not adequate. So if you have the same thing happening over and over, you need to put some sort of documentation, communication, leadership in place to mitigate that. And if you can't solve that problem, maybe you need to make structural changes or personnel changes inside your business to address that problem. You, at the end of the day, need to be stopping the bottleneck, and will have to give up some control and realize that there will be some fallout and some collateral damage potentially by giving more responsibility to your people. Now, you need to outline this in your roles and responsibilities description of the job so that they know clearly what things they can make decisions on and have thresholds. So if something's going to take 2 hours to fix, maybe they fix it. If it's going to take over that, then they need to get a change order or talk to you or a senior manager. If they can purchase something for under $500 and they need it for the site, maybe that's, within reason and they can do that. If it's above that, they need additional clearance or what have you. So there's certain checks, but you need to give up more control to your people with clear decision guidelines and clear communication guidelines at the end of the day. And this is really the only way to stop micromanaging and get yourself out of the day-to-day. The last thing I'm going to touch on with amazing operations is utilizing technology effectively. You don't have to be an expert at all these, new automations or AI, but realize that there's so much help out there that you can receive to automate a lot of the back end. Anything to do with computers, software, scheduling, communications, a lot of it can be automated or improved with even just small parts of the process, utilizing better technology. Especially with AI nowadays, there's a lot of good tools out there that you're probably not using, and you just need to get in touch with the right people or hunker down and just learn something new and realize that sometimes you'll have to try something out or train a new system before it'll become effective. Now you understand the secrets to building a multi-million-dollar construction business. The info that I shared with you in this video is just a small fraction of what we teach contractors inside our coaching program. So if you want help with this from someone who's generated over $30 million in revenue for general contractors, click the link in the description to work with me. And if you want to learn how I generate over $5 million of profit for contractors, watch this next video where I break it down for you.